What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders Awakened. Today we are going to take on the Ancient Dragon in Massacre Hardcore Survival, and we're going to do it solo. I'm going to be using one of Aramir or Fall Guys mains builds that's posted on the planner. I will put a link down in the description below. It is just a very slight variation of the build he's got there. However, it is 100% based off of it. Now, Aramir has posted this as the stats that he used when he cleared the map, and we'll run through my stats here real quick as well. I am going to be using a Traptress, an EV for buff beams, another EV for walls, and an Aura Monk. You notice my Huntress is quite a bit lower actually, in range than what Aramir used. However, I haven't been having any problems with the build having the lower range on there. And then in addition, we're going to use some Apprentice defenses as well, and we're going to use some Bouncer blockades. Now the Bouncer blockades literally 100% don't matter. This is my Apprentice stats. It's very similar to what Aramir posted up as well. Now, as I mentioned, the Bouncer blockades just don't matter. You can actually use a Waller Squire if that's all you have, and that'll be just fine. The only difference is if you use a DPS Squire, the flyers are going to burn a little bit more quickly, and that in turn is also going to save a Ensnare Aura from constant repairs. Now let's hop on in and build out the map. And here we go to take on the Ancient Dragon. Now there is quite a few different builds listed on the planner now for the summit. I will say this, remember this is the hardest boss fight in the game. It's gonna require some stats. You're gonna have to do some grinding in other tiers. If you want to get started on the summit and the Ancient Dragon in survival mode earlier, do so in a 2 or 3 player group. Raji has quite a few very friendly group builds up on the planner as well, so check out Raji's builds for a group, as he's got some very solid builds that he posted up. Now, a few little tips on the map when you're building it. Now, first thing, your auras. This map, as you're going to see, is going to be quite chaotic. As you're just starting off and kind of learning how things go on the map, don't place your auras right on top of each other as you normally would. Instead, place your auras just side by side. That's going to make it very easy for you to identify your auras to get them repaired, and you're not going to be fishing around in the air or on the ground to try to get an aura repaired really quickly. Now, in addition to that, you'll see the build is really based off of controlling the Copter Ogres. We will fully control the Copter Ogres the entire time, and make sure you stack a little bit of health, because 2 fireballs from the dragon can end most people's day. And, of course, since we're playing it on hardcore, death means it's over, we're just going to lose. Let's go ahead and build it all out. Now we're going to start off here with a Aura stack right as close to we can get it to the crystal here. I'm going to do, just like I said, and stack these Auras side by side, and that's going to make them really easy to target for repairs. Now we're going to come this way and do another Aura stack. Now, the deal with this side is, the further out here you put it, the more this Strength Drain Aura is really going to burn. So depending on how your range is, you can put it anywhere along this section, but you do want to make sure that you're going to put it somewhere where your Strength Drain Aura is just not completely getting chewed apart. And if you put it too close, you may find that your Strength Drain burns just silly levels of fast. Now let's go ahead and grab our Traptress as well, and we'll get some traps down here in just a moment, but let's work on our flyer defense. So up top here, we're going to go with a Gas Trap, and we're going to go with an Ensnare Aura. Now we're putting these over here because these are 100% for controlling the Copters, and the Copters are very controllable on this map, particularly solo. A solo player can only have 2 Copters up at a time, so you can really manage not only how many copters are coming, but where they're coming from as well. Let's go ahead and do the exact same thing over here on the other side and make sure we are all set up for flyers. Now, why the bouncer, you ask? Well, the bouncer blockade and the slice and dice just happen to be two of the best anti-air defenses in the game, believe it or not. They've got super high aggro, so all mobs will come right down to them without any problem, which means any wyverns that take this path are just going to go down and hit the bouncer blockade. Now, what's a bouncer do? It pushes mobs back, and wyverns, of course, are melee mobs, so they have to be in melee range. So what happens here is the wyverns are going to come in and get slowed by our ensnare aura, and the bouncer is going to sit there and slowly just knock them back, and the wyvern's not going to put either very little or no damage at all to the bouncer blockade itself. Now let's go ahead and get this wall, or this side, built out. We're going to need our EV Waller again. Where you at? There we go. Now, this lane here is without a doubt the weakest lane on this side of the map. However, you don't want to completely ignore it, and if you're playing solo, it can just save the day if you put just a 2DU blocking field down there. We're going to go with a gas trap right on top of this little mount. Slightly different placement than Aramir had it, but this is just easy and what I've always done, and it works. So this is what I'm going with, and then we're going to go with a darkness right in the middle. Now we want to get this wall up. Now we're going to do 2 4DU walls, and we want to tie these walls together with a buff beam. So we're going to put a 4DU wall here. Note I gave a little bit of space in between those pillars because we want that 4DU buff beam to be able to fit in, and we don't want to spend 5 on the buff beam. Let's make sure we're right at the limit for 4. And then that's going to allow us to put another wall right down this lane, and both are going to be protected from the buff beam. Now we're going to go with another 4DU wall right here, and that is going to do it for this side of the map. Now, as you're going through, don't upgrade your walls all the way. It's instinctive to do it a lot of times. However, if you do, you're going to run into problems where if you need to do an emergency repair on them, it takes forever. Where if you leave some upgrade room there, then you can just come over and upgrade that wall, and it's going to be almost instant. Now on this side, we're going to do some fatty 5DU walls. We're going to start right on the outer edge of that little column there, and we're going to bring it in just as far as it will go. Where you place it here is not super duper important, but I would definitely say stay behind this line right here. We're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing over on this side. We're going to go all the way out to the edge of that little column and place it there. Now, what this is going to do is no matter where the ogres are at, ogres are going to smack on those walls. Even if they come up the stairs, ideally they do come up the stairs a little bit, they're not going to be able to cleave into the core at this range. Now, if that wall was just slightly farther over, then the ogres would cleave the core and do damage to it. Now, of course, we want to tie all of this together with a buff beam as well. We're going to have to go with the full 6DU there. Just double check and make sure both your walls are getting it. If you hit E and look at your wall, it should show armor directly under the max HP. And then now for this lane, you can either put your traps down below on the bottom, or you can put them up top here and get the benefit of the buff beam. But we are going to go with a gas trap and an inferno trap, and then these buff beams are going to hit both of those. Now we've got 58 DU left. We want to do one more buff beam, and we're going to put it right across here. It will be it's going to be a 5 DU buff beam. So we're going to start it like right about there, and we'll bring it over. Let's get the correct offense though. We'll start it right there, and we'll bring it over to say, try to get it to its maximum extension, which is 3.06. And then it's GG. And then now we're going to get out our trusty apprentice and start laying down some pain here, because this is where the magic really starts happening. So we're going to start off with a flame burst, as far as we can get it down this side of the buff beam where we still get the buff. And we want to make sure our flame burst is going to cover that middle lane and this side lane. Now we're going to do the exact same thing once again, middle and side. Another important thing here is these flame bursts are going to assist on the boss in those side lanes, and that is just awesome. Depending on your range and how many upgrades you put on them, they could potentially assist over there as well. Now we're going to go ahead and put down 2 DSTs. The DSTs you just want just facing directly south, just straight on line. Point them on down there, get 2 of those guys down, and then we're going to go 2 more flame bursts over on this side. Same thing here, we want to cover this lane and that lane, so we're going to make sure both of these flame bursts are covering those. And then we're going to get 1 more flame burst right here in the center, covering this area. Now, one thing I forgot is a healing aura. A healing aura can always be quite beneficial, so we're going to throw a healing aura right there on top. And what else are we missing? We're missing some reflect beams. Oh, we're missing shocks as well. Good gosh. How do I miss the shock beams? Obviously, if we get a poison siren and a sharkin, or just a mass of enemies, they're going to just rush right up here and cave everything in and destroy our day. So as a backup to a potential poison siren attack, we are going to put a 3DU shock beam right here. We're going to put another 3DU shock beam right over on this side. Actually, we want those to be 2, I believe. Let's go 2 instead. Let's see, let's go with a 2DU. I want it a little bit more towards the right here. There we go. We'll get a 2DU shock beam. Same thing here, just a little bit to the left. We'll make it 2DU as well. That's going to leave down 6. We're going to go 2 more 2DU shock beams up here. The reason being here, if you're doing this map, you've probably already seen it. Enemies will run down this lane. Now we're going to need some backup there for it, and the shock beams are going to help us out there for anything that doesn't make it through. Going to do the same thing here, 2DU. Now we've got 2DU left. So first things first, we want to protect all of these towers versus spiders that are going to be running around on the platform up top. So we're going to put a reflect beam there. Now you can do one of 2 things. You will get ogres on that side of the map. Ogres, of course, are going to throw their snotballs at your towers, and you can put a reflect beam right here, which is what I normally do. However, there is a small chance if you get any mage enemies. So the Dark Elf mages, if you get any of those backed up right here, they will take shots at this core. Now, if you use that 1DU to put a reflect beam here instead, that is going to remedy that problem. Now, it doesn't happen every time, but you're going to see it happen. There's just no doubt about it. And then we're going to use a DPS monk with 400,000 health. I'd feel comfortable doing it lower, to be honest with you. I think 350k on a monk would be pretty safe. And we're going to bring along that genie pet to keep our boost up 100% of the time. Now, I see it takes 5,900 vitality to get that much health. Now, we've got 11,000 and change left. Let's hit all of the buff beams. Let's hit each shock beam twice. And then we should have a little bit left for some auras. Now, I realize this gas trap isn't buffed. It's okay. Don't sweat it, y'all. It will definitely be alright. Let's see, we've got all those up. We actually have 2,300 left, which is pretty nice. I got this one already. Getting like 1 upgrade on your Strength Drain aura and your Electric aura is only going to help you out. Definitely prioritize upgrading your Electric aura first, although it feels like you should upgrade the Ensnare instead. But remember, the harder the Electric aura is hitting, the faster the enemies die, and the less charges the Strength Drain is going to burn. Now we've got 1,900 left. I'm just going to go ahead and sink that evenly into all of my towers here. I've got that Flame Burst kind of a little wonky here. It's a little bit outside of the reflect beam, so I should have that reflect beam out just a touch further, but I'm going to call it good and make it happen. Now, I mentioned this is all about controlling copters. Well, the copter pattern or the copter rotation does change for each wave. However, this is what you do, y'all. You can only have 2 copters out at a time, right? So 1 copter or 2 copters is going to be at a side lane. 1 or 2 copters is going to be at the other side lane. And you are going to forget those exist for a while. They are CC'd up like a mofo. They got a gas trap and an ensnare up there. And that would be a really, really prime opportunity to take out any enemies that you need to take out. Now, of course, just as RNG has it, I did get fire ogres here. So, you know, I'm not going to be able to burn those down. So I am going to want to keep an eye on my wall health. Now, remember, we got that buff beam on the wall as well. So it's not like a major emergency. Your walls can take quite the beatdown from multiple ogres while they have that buff beam on them. So I do want to keep an eye on the strength drain, though. You see that bad boy is just burning quick. You see that wall has taken, like, really practically no damage. Now, if you ignore those side copters for too long, what's going to happen? Well, they're going to despawn. So then you're going to have more copters coming in from these other lanes, and you're going to want to just keep an eye on what's going on with the copters. Ideally, right now, these would not all be fire ogres. And like over here, I've got a non-fire ogre, so I can come over and give a little bit of an assist here. If you lure the ogres up the stairs just a touch like that, it's going to make your flame bursts start unleashing on them. So definitely bring them up the stairs. Just watch your walls here. Make sure your walls don't die, and it's going to be GG. So let's see. Let's go and throw one more tower boost over here. How's that wall holding up? Still doing pretty good, really. I'm going to do a quick round and grab some mana here real quick, and then I'll just be able to throw an upgrade on those walls instead of really sweating it too much with those lengthy repairs. So we'll get that one. Let's go ahead and just hit this one as well. See if I can't get that electric ogre without wasting too many shots on the flamey boy, as I'm just not going to be able to do really much of anything to the fire resist ogre, of course. Now remember too, you know, it's all about the weapons, right? That's the reason you're doing this map to begin with. Now, the weapons that just come from campaign are really good, y'all. And it's super duper easy to farm. So before you take this on, make sure you have some good campaign weapons, as like a 200 up campaign polearm from this map is actually going to out DPS a 300 up polearm from Massacre Throne Room. So the polearm from this map with the 7 projectiles is just good stuff. In addition to that, the Spitfire gun for the Huntress or EV, just good stuff. So these are all weapons you're going to want. You are definitely going to want to farm this particular encounter. Now, you see our side copters are still doing good. We finally got rid of one ogre. Sadly, we've got all these flamey boys up here that I cannot do any damage to. So I'm just going to spray around. I will make sure to keep that wall alive. If the wall looks like it's going to die, I will run over and get an emergency repair on it. But the main thing I'm keeping an eye out for is without a doubt the auras. You know, if your auras go, if your strength drain aura goes, it's going to be bad times. In addition to that, your shock beams. We all know shock beams burn super, super quick. That's why we place them on a waller, right? Well, make sure you're getting those shock beams repaired up as well. 5 DU walls with buff beams can take a massive, massive beating. Now, we're actually getting to the point here where all we're going to have left is the copters. So we can go ahead and just take our sweet old time. Remember, always keep one copter at a side lane at all times. And then if you're solo, you're only going to have one more copter to deal with. So, like, don't switch over and kill the one over there. Let it sit there all crowd controlled and work on the ones that you have no crowd control on. See, we took out these 2 copters. We should have 2 copters at the sides again. See, we've now got 2 copters over on this side, so we can go ahead and take this one out. And I think it might be down to copter duty here. We may have cleared everything else. They're both at the side still. We'll go ahead and take this one, and then we'll get middle copters again. And there we go. Now we've got one over here. Keep one copter CC'd and you only have one there. So now remember, that's a solo strategy only. Although you can still crowd control the copters when you're in a group, that 2 copter limit does not apply. It changes based off of how many people are in your group. So always be aware of what's going on with the dem copters, that's for sure. This should be the last 2. Just go ahead and boost it out here. And there we go. Now, it is just more rinse and repeat on wave 24 and wave 25. Repair your auras, repair your walls. Don't upgrade your walls, remember. Leave them low level and just repair them. That way you can throw an emergency upgrade on them. Keep your auras good and fat. And like I said, it's just a rinse and repeat of the other waves after this one. So I am going to jump right on ahead to the boss fight. And hopping right on into the boss fight here. Now, I did not do a live commentary during the boss fight, even though I did through the initial wave and setup. The boss fight does require paying attention, and as you'll see here, I actually got super duper lucky with the RNG and the sirens. I got no massive ogre buildups at the walls at all until the very end. And the most important thing when dealing with the boss is the boss doesn't take priority. What's going on the ground does. So you want to get as many shots fired into the boss as you can. However, you do need to pay attention to what's going on the ground. And if you get a large buildup somewhere, just firing into it from range can sometimes be enough to save the day. Well, hopefully you all enjoyed the fight, so thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to click that like button, please subscribe. As always, anything, whether it's news, strategies, or just good times, that involves Dungeon Defenders, it will be covered right here on the channel. Thanks again, y'all. I'll see you next time.